What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves. Hi, what's up, what's up, what's up? This is your gracious host, Dr. Anthony, and we have some amazing topics a topic that we are going to focus on and discuss tonight. Tyla and her downfall in Black American culture and Black American music. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring out my producer, Mark Lee, so we can get this discussion on the road. How's it?
How are you doing, lovely? It looks like it's a lovely day. We're doing good. We're having a quiet day over here in North Carolina, but everything's wonderful and looking forward to the discussion and seeing what's going on. But yeah, it's been some good weather. My dad and his lady love celebrated at a dance studio their 80th and 85th birthday because Dad turned 85 in June and his lady love turned 80. So they had a nice little dance party / food party, and that was a good time and all along those lines. And then I went to Black August in the Park on Sunday, which is a celebration of our African American culture, and this is its 10th anniversary. So they've been doing it for 10 years here in Durham. So there were historical things talking about George Jackson.
Oh, happy anniversary, Dad.
Yeah. So
yes, happy anniversary, Dad. I'm glad to hear that. So I will be going home this weekend to visit my parents, to check on them, get my hair done, and the whole shebang. So Dr. Anthony can, get back into her role of Dr. Anthony. I've been doing my natural hairstyles, wearing a pull back a little bit out in the back and things like that. The summer style to wash back and be graciously, Dr. Anthony, back to my old style. So yes, coming in the next coming week or so, I will be definitely back to my old style and repping what I do. So, Mark, where do I begin? So, so we've talked, and we've discussed this young artist on the show before. Her name. And I have actually supported her when she first came out. She's from South Africa. We were pushing her music. Her first song, Water, would top the charts and things like that. And so we were really rooting for her until she opened her mouth. And when she opened her mouth, she not only opened her mouth in a derogatory manner, but she was derogatory toward Black Americans. So, I don't really understand who her PR team is and what her PR team is doing, but the one that they missed the mark and dropped the ball is with Black Americans. I understand she's from South Africa. I understand they still use the word colored and they describe their, mixed heritage people as colored. But here in the United States, that's a very derogatory and demeaning word, and we do not describe ourselves as colored. And so the issue came about when Tyla was asked if she was Black, and she doubled down and said that she was not Black, that she was colored. And trying to explain to her that in America, Black people perceive the word colored as derogatory and demeaning, and we don't describe ourselves as that. Tyler looks like she could be one of my little cousins, to be truth be told. I'm from Louisiana, so we have mixed race, mixed heritage, and things like that. And so she definitely could fit into the culture over here, but she doubled down. Oh, she's not Black, she doesn't identify as Black, she's colored, and things of that nature. And so with that being said, a lot of Black Americans, Black women to be in particular. So so this show, my loves, we're going to talk about the downfall of Tyla in America. I'm not sure how she's doing across the world, but I know here in America she flopped and she dropped. Although they bought her an Emmy, they bought her these awards. They've been trying to get her at all these Black shows and these Black events and things like that. But my concern and my issue is if she's not claiming a part of the culture. Why are her management team and people trying to push her and, you know, force us to accept her? We have already made our decision. We're not accepting her. We tried it, didn't work. We're returning to sender. We're returning to South Africa. You know, when she doubled down and she disrespected Black people, primarily Black women, we were like, nope, we're washing our hands with it. We're through. We're done. But, you know, she was like in the that we should have given her a try. But talking about, you know, she has a right to her own identity. She does have a right to her own identity. But we also have a right to spend our money with who we want to spend our money to. And my concern with her is you can't come over here expecting Black support and you turn your nose up and look down upon the very people that you need to support you. What she failed to realize is Black people, especially Black women, makes American culture. We are the backbone of America culture. We're the backbone of everything. And if we don't support you, sweetheart, no one is going to support you. I mean, even when her WWP album came out, she only sold like 3,700 units of her album. So that was basically a flop. And most people are trying to figure out why and how did her music not transcend, and she did not get the recognition and the support that she should have gotten, or they thought she should have gotten from, you know, Americans, especially. And I will say again, you cannot diss the people that you need to support you. And when she made the comments about she was colored and she wasn't Black and she didn't identify as Black, that pretty much put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. You know, I understand over there in South Africa, y'all colored. I get it. But over here in America, it's derogatory. And so whomever was part of her PR team, they should have advised her, because we were not going to support her. We're not going to identify with derogatory terms and allow her to categorize us in a derogatory term and use the derogatory term over here. And, you know, a lot of South Africans are saying, you know, we're not allowing her to be her. No, we're allowing her to be her. She can be her. She can definitely be her. But here in America, she just can't use that term over here because we don't identify with that. We know that it's racist. We know that it's derogatory. We know that it's all of that. But she doubled down several platforms, wouldn't answer questions, and, you know, things of that nature. So, you know, you cannot expect people to support an artist or a brand when they are doubling down on their disconnect from the Black culture and Black people. Baby, we know you Black, regardless if you have, you know, mixed heritage or white people blood running through you, honey, you still Black. Your skin is just as dark as mine, you know, so we know you Black, honey. But the problem is you don't that not aligning with us, just like Target when you got rid of DEI, what the result was going to be. So you only sold 3,700 units of your album, and you expected us to come out in droves and support you, but we showed you that we're not going to support you. So she was recently in Brazil at a party where she had an incident where the incident went viral. It was a recently troubling video surfaced of Tyler at a party in Brazil. She appeared to collapse. It triggered an alarm across social media with speculation ranging from exhaustion to poor management decisions. But they're trying to spin it as, you know, nothing ethical and things like that. But again, my thing is, you know, you want to be a superstar like Rihanna. You just don't have that Rihanna intellect and that Rihanna stamina. You want to be like Beyonce because you compared yourself to both of them and things, and you're not. You know, they know that the culture supports everything. You went against brain. They did not go against the culture. So we already know that we're going to support them. But you're a brand new artist. You went against the culture, and you thought that, you know, shaking your ass on stage and your looks were going to get you to the point where we were going to support you. But Boo Boo Kitty, we showed you. You know, that may work over there where you're from, but it doesn't work over here where we're from. And, you know, one of the interviews that, you know, sparked controversy was the interview with Charlamagne tha God. And I know you
Yeah, we got a little
look
clip
up the
of
videos, and we have them ready in queue to play for you.
and we've got
Yes, we have several of them ready to play for you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just gonna play that short clip of that remark and with Charlemagne the God and everything like that, and you can even hear her management in the background that basically was encouraging her not to take that question and all along those lines. And it did sound like it was a white woman, so it might have been part of her management being the white that was out of South Africa and all along those lines. So, and they may not understand the context of colored as much as you do and I do, who haven't been born in North Carolina and everything like that. But definitely it is something that her folks should have done a better job of understanding where they were coming and everything like that. And that was definitely part of the controversy because they even asked her whether they felt that they had jumped her. But you can clearly hear the woman in the background saying, we were not going to answer that question or something to that effect and everything like that. So if you want, I can play that. It's only about 39 seconds and they can hear a little bit of what that's all about. And
And then more comments after the video.
Sure. So
yes.
We'll check out this video, right?
So we're going to go ahead and go into the 39-second video, and then I have some comments after.
Yeah, Mark. No problem. Here's the video.
Charlemagne the God pressed Tyla during this interview.
School me on these debates that they be having about your identity as a South African colored person. What does that even mean?
Can we not? Por favor.
Oh, I like that. We keeping that in the interview too. I like when they talk from the back and say we can't. I like that. I like that. That's good. That's even better.
Next one, please.
That's even better.
Yo, stupid, yo. Wasn't that bad, was it? We ain't beat you up too much.
No.
No?
No. Yeah, I'm not. Are you awkward?
No.
I'm not awkward.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so the whole notion of whether she was awkward or not awkward, but definitely that was that particular clip and all along those lines. So definitely that's what was being said in that particular case. I think Dr. Anthony may still be on mute and everything like that, but yeah, you're on mute, Dr. Anthony.
Teachable moment for her. She could have springboarded and she could have saved herself right there, but she chose not to save herself, and she allowed that white woman in the background to dictate to not answer that question. But that was a moment where she could have addressed the situation and she could have spoken to Black America. So she could have said, although I am from South Africa, and I identify as colored over there. We identified as colored. I know in America that is a derogatory term. I know in America that they do not identify as colored here. And I know in America that I will be perceived as a Black woman. I understand that. I understand that in America, I am perceived as Black. But in South Africa, I am perceived as colored. That was a simple statement. It addressed everything. She could have turned around to that white man who has no idea about Black American culture and allowed her to tell them to skip and go to the next question without addressing what she said. So you not only hurt your Black audience, you hurt the support that you garnered from the very audience that you're trying to sell to. Because it's really ironic, Mark, because she had like 60 million streams on Spotify. Because again, we were trying to support this broad, because I know I mentioned a couple of times to my audience that we needed to support her, that we needed to download her song Water, and we need to listen to her music, and we need to help her reach the status that she's trying to reach. But when she took that stance, and when she did not identify with the culture and Black Americans, we said to hell with her. We're done with her. She is no longer in our repertoire of artists that we want to support in that music that we. Mark, that I was at a party. They played her song. The folks didn't dance. We didn't dance. So they quickly removed the song and got something else. But she has to understand, you cannot offend the very people that you need to support you. So what she failed to realize is Black women, Black Americans, that we are the culture. We make the culture, and you want music that we listen to and that we vibe to and things like that. So regardless what your album was, we still did not support you. And to the 3,700 people who actually bought your album, you know, I hope it was well worth it, because we're still not supporting this little girl. Well, she's not a little girl. She's a young woman. We're still not supporting this young woman. And she has to go back, to the drawing board, and her whole team has to go back to the drawing board and see how they can come out of this swinging and banging and swinging and things like that. But I think she has totally lost her Black American culture support over here. Once you offend us, we're done with you. That's just like Cynthia Erivo. She says some disparaging, derogatory things. And what baffles me, Mark, is these people don't understand that without the Black American plight, they would not be able to come over here and do what they're doing. Without our struggle, without the things that we have fought for, without the things that we have gone through, without the things that we have experienced, those very people who are turning their noses down to us would not be able to come over here and been in America. Josephine Baker was a known Black artist. She had to leave America and go to Europe to even perform in white spaces. These racist ass white folks over here wouldn't even let her perform. Marian Anderson, they wouldn't even let her sing opera. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So they don't understand the culture and the plight of the American Black being able to come over here and do what they do. You know, even the actors who are coming over here from the UK and things like that, getting these Black roles and, you know, turning their noses down to Black audiences. Because now what I have started doing, I have started researching where the people who are playing in the movies are from. And so if they're from over there, I don't support the movie. And I'm not going to support the movie. I'm not going to spend my money with the movie. Ryan Coogler, love Jordan Peele, love them to death. But if y'all continue to bring these British actors in, we're gonna stop supporting your movies. It's stop supporting your work, because my thing is we have enough American-born actors to supply those roles and to support those roles. Those people turn their noses down to us. So why the hell should we support them with our Black dollars? Why the hell should we allow them to be in our movies?
Yeah, they've got an active movie community there.
That's the stance that we need to take. If they're going to be in those movies and they're going to support, you know, we need to take a stance and we need to show them, like, what's the guy name who played in the movie? He's a director. He's a Black director, and the people found out, the culture found out that he has a white wife, and ever since they found out that, his movies have flopped. So we definitely need to send that message to the rest of those people and let them know that we're definitely not. Mark.
Yeah, like I said, they've definitely got a rich movie community over there in London, so they can create some of their own movies. And I know they're doing that, even some of those that are African descent. And I do know, because I've got some friends that are from Africa, that some of them are very proud of their culture and very much aware of their culture. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to some friends yesterday. One of them was actually going to Ghana in November. It's two of my friends that are African dancers. One of them is going to go visit their mother who moved to Ghana, and all along those lines, because they were given a great deal and everything like that. And there's another gentleman who's from, I think he may be from Ghana as well, or maybe he's from Senegal, but he's actually got his own kingdom, and the people are waiting for him to come back and claim his crown, and all along those lines and everything. So I do know that there was a push to get many of us to go back to the various African continents, and even to get some of the land that has been promised to us by some of the governments over there and everything like that. And I know some people that have explored it and have said that it is a worthwhile deal. I got too much family and friends here in the States to make that move myself, even though I would love to visit Kenya or visit Ghana or visit even South Africa or a number of other of the African countries, including Morocco and Algeria and a number of others. But it'll be interesting to see what goes on into that space. I know that there's some rich culture in our motherland and all along those lines, and even some new artists that are coming out of the motherland. But it's not anything new. I mean, Miriam, I'm trying to think of her last name, Makeba, I think it is, or something like that. But she was out of South Africa. just like a number of the other groups were out of that area and everything like that. So there's definitely been some good music that has come out of the various African countries, but a lot of them do try to do initial research so they understand where they're coming into and understand even some of that history you were talking about, whether that was Josephine Baker or Dorothea Dandridge or a number of others that are going out there and everything. So there's great music that comes from all over the world, but it'll be interesting to see. But if you're going to get support, you need to understand where you're coming from and all along those lines. And you definitely want to understand the history and everything like that, and understand the nature of the history before you make comments and all along those lines. And I was right, it is Miriam Makeba, who is a South African singer, songwriter, and actress, and it was definitely had a long career, and some people even compared her to some of the greats as well, because she was born in March 4th of 32 and passed away in 2008 back in Italy, and had a rich history and all along those lines and everything like that. And she was even exiled from her country and everything like that, because she was exiled from South Africa because the apartheid government banned her music and revoked her passport in response to her outspoken anti-apartheid.
Mark, your media is jaded, is messing up.
You didn't hear me? Because I heard me. I'll go back and double check that and everything.
Yeah, it's going in and out. And so I heard parts of it. So it's a lot to unpack. And we're not saying not be proud of your heritage and your culture. I have a different culture than most people out here. It's different because Louisiana is primarily French. Louisiana has a lot of people from different walks of life, different backgrounds and things like that. So we're not saying not be proud of your culture, but we're not saying that we're going to support you in your culture when you are blatantly, derogatory and putting down one person's culture over yours, and you're turning your, like a lot of reading on this whole Tyler situation, and they're trying to spin it as she's not distanced herself from blackness. No, she definitely distanced herself from blackness. We heard what we heard, and we are not falling prey for it. She clearly said that she wasn't black in the first time that it was addressed and things like that or whatever. So her downfall is her downfall. So we are not supporting her, and we're people across the globe, you're free to do whatever you want. But, we have taken a stance against her, and we have chosen not to support her. She's not an artist that we want in our Black spaces. She's not an artist that we want in our on our music tread in the club or anywhere else. Again, she has taken her stance, I've taken ours. And so there was no misunderstanding. We heard what we heard. She said what she said, and she did what she business. They're trying to say that she came back and said that, although she's a South African and she identified as colored or whatever, she knows in America that she's going to be perceived as black. That's not what that broad said. They totally diverted and averted the question, and they did not respond. So, by not responding, you're admitting and you're consenting that that's your personal stance and things like that. So, again, it's no hard feelings, sweetheart. I'm gonna have
to push back on you a little bit, Dr. Anthony. But is that her stance or is that her management stance? Because I don't think that the woman has a stance and everything like that. Because I think personally that she is being managed by these white folks that are making the stance because they are afraid that it's going to impact her status with the white listeners and some of the other listeners as well, because I don't think that she really has a stance. And what I've read, and I've read some of the other articles and everything, is that she really knows what colored means in South Africa and didn't really understand what colored meant in North America until it was explained to her. But I did hear that white woman basically saying, and I've seen other politicians, including our orange man, that has had people that have definitely tried to get him not to talk about issues that they felt uncomfortable with. So I blame that more on the management than I blame it on Tyler herself and everything like that, because I think she's being controlled and manipulated by a white man.
But again, Mark, that's an excuse. That's just like, that's an excuse. excuse to me. To me, that's an excuse because that's just like you're performing. For example, there was an artist that came to New Orleans during Bayou Classic and performed during Bayou Classic. She could not connect to the audience. And she also stated the wrong location of where she was. So you being an artist, you need to know where you are and you need to address the people where you are. So even though she has white management and things like that, she still needs to educate herself.
But
At the end of her brand, her name, her title, and her markings.
No, I get what you're
That's
saying,
an excuse. Even Mark, even on your job. Let me finish. Even on your job, when they put out information, if you take it upon yourself not to read it, guess what? You're still responsible for that information, regardless if you read the information or not. So regardless of what those white managers have put into her and pushed down her throat, she, as an artist, on the people that she was trying to swoon and to try to, win over and things like that. That is an excuse. And we're not excusing her. We're not supporting her. She should have known that word was going to be offensive over here in America. She should have done research on her own. I understand that she likes her little colored self being colored in South Africa, but we over here in America, we don't take kindly to that. And we don't like being called colored. It's racist and derogatory and things like that.
I hear what you're saying and everything, but
this is a grown-ass goddamn woman. She's over 21 dang on years old. She should have read and she should have addressed the people accordingly. So because of lack of knowledge and her lack of acknowledgement, we have taken a stance.
No, I hear what you're saying, but even last year, and I brought it up on this show before and everything, because there was money that was paid, and I do know that a lot of times people make mistakes, including management, and all along those lines and everything, because I know that even here in Durham, there are people that have been calling when performing in Durham, saying that they're performing in Raleigh or saying they're performing in Greensboro because they didn't do enough research to know where the heck they were playing and everything. And even last year when they had the Bembe Festival, Monica actually did not come and performed. And definitely they wound up having to pay about $45,000 to the vendor and everything, because Monica, the music act that had been touted as the headliner for the festival, failed to show up, and she took to social media saying she was never contacted or contracted to perform at that particular festival and everything like that. So it wound up being that Chris Weeks, who was a event planner, and I know Chris as well, had to see the city pay some money back. So the last I heard, it was that they were expecting to pay back some money in the neighborhood of $30,000 because they made a contract with a major star and everything like that. And she said, look, I wasn't even on the contract. So a lot of people last year were very upset, thinking that they were going to be there. And definitely even the mayor, who is now running to be mayor again, said there was a drop in communication there for her not to know that we were under contractual agreement that she would be there. Someone may or may not be telling the truth here.
Right, and that's different. Those are two isolated incidents. That's different. And again, if an artist does not know where they're performing, that's bad on the artist. Let's just say Beyonce would have done that. They would have raked her over the coals. They would have, drug her through the mud. She wouldn't have gotten that grace. So no, that's an excuse to me. And again, she is making excuses. Her team is. When you're trying to swoon people to support you and to buy your music, you need to know who the people you're dealing with. You need to know the community that you're talking to. You need to know the community that you want to have support you. And so she messed up with Black Americans, and that's just the bottom line. We were offended, and so we took a stance not to support her.
No, definitely everybody's got a right not to support who they want to support. I don't own the record, never have owned the record and everything like that. But I do know that a lot of artists let themselves, and that has been an issue ever since the Cadillac record days, where a lot of people are letting people mismanage them and control them without doing enough research into what they are getting into. I mean, we can go back to Cadillac Records. We can go back to a number of other things, including with some of our great R&B, blues, and jazz artists and everything like that. So I hear what you're saying, but I'm just saying that in the modern era and even in the old era, people got to do greater research to understand what they are getting into and all along those lines. Because yes, you can lose an entire group of people if you don't understand what you're doing. I've seen people lose entire young people, like teenagers and stuff, because they don't understand the market where they're going to address the teenagers or the hip hop crowd and all along those lines. So I do agree that you need to do research, but I also think that a lot of artists, and let's be honest, Dr. Anthony, are lazy, and they're lazy, and they just want to have people do the work for them and all in that space, and they don't really realize the consequences until it slaps them in the face, and then they got to do what they call damage control and everything, which is probably what
I can attest to you saying that they are lazy. I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with you saying a lot of them are lazy, but in this day and age, when you're trying to cater to a group of people, you don't need to be lazy. You need to do your due diligence, and you need to do the research and know who your audience is, and know who you're dealing with. And also, when I teach this to children when they're doing presentations, it's all about knowing who your audience is.
Yep.
To. So if you're in a room speaking to a bunch of adults, you're not going to use the same type of language that you would use if you're in a room speaking to a bunch of children that's on your level. So you have to know your audience, and you have to know who you're dealing with. And so again, like I said, I think that was an excuse for her, saying that lack of knowledge and things like that, because we don't get second chances when it comes to not knowing. Just like when I had to take these training classes that I'm taking, it said, I'm summing it up, basically. Even if you didn't. So it is up on you. It is up on you, the incumbent, to go out, do the research, read, and understand who you're dealing with and things like that. Lack of knowledge is an excuse. It's too much AI. It's too much, things out there. Electronic tools that you can generate information from that you could have, researched, but you research. You didn't research Black American culture. You didn't research the Black American plight, and then you try to distance yourself. And then when we push back against you, you're trying to say that, you're not running away from your Blackness. You're being questioned. Your Blackness is being questioned. No, we question your Blackness based off of your response and your actions. Your actions has consequences. So, sweetheart, your action and our consequence is a direct reaction of what you did. So you can't get against you, because this is something that you did. We were on Team Tyler in the beginning. We wanted her to succeed. We wanted her to be that #1 pop artist, that hip hop artist, that world sensation and things like that. We were Team Tyler, but when she opened her damn mouth, that deterred us. It was a deterrent for us to support her. So, again, you cannot offend the very people that you need. Once you lost Black American women, you lost Black American culture, because the women drive the culture. And that's what people fail to realize. Black American women are the blueprint. We drive the culture. So she definitely offended us, and we're not going to be on Team Tyler.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question I got to ask you, Dr. Anthony,
and again,
I guess the question I got to ask you, Dr. Anthony, is that there have been women, whether it was, and you had alluded to one of them, whether it was Marian Anderson with the civil rights struggle, or whether it was folks that were very much into Black Lives Matter and things along those lines. So assuming that this woman, like I said, I don't know enough of her history to know what she does or doesn't know and everything, but assuming that she doesn't know enough about our African-American culture, is the only way that she's going to be able to win back the sister community is to get engaged in fights and civil rights activities within our community, and to stand 10 toes deep with folks that are fighting for whatever their activism is and all along those lines? Or is it beyond reproach and that she can never make up?
No. She's done. We're not falling in line behind her, because we know that it will be fake. It will be fake, supporting. It would be fake activism and things like that. You're only doing it because we are not supporting you. It's not coming from a genuine place. It's not coming from a place where, oh, I have to fight for this struggle. Because again, like I said, these folks do not understand that their success in America is built on the back of us and our plight and the experiences that we had and the things that we had to go through. They don't understand that. And so they just think that, we're just over here, we're touring, we're just, being accepted and things like that. You're only accepted because we had to go out and fight. We had to go out and march in those streets. We had to go out and demand the respect that we are getting and the things that we're getting, in which Trump is trying to take away. They are the benefit of our experiences. So no, we're not going to fall in line behind her because we know that it will not be genuine. She would not be a genuine spokesperson for the plight of Black Americans. She cannot be a leader for Black Americans because she doesn't understand our struggle. She doesn't understand our plight. So therefore, there is no alignment. There is no, coming back from where she messed up and things like that. Because again, there is no genuineness.
But Dr. Anthony, that could be a whole interesting show because I know for a fact
authenticity when it comes to that.
But that could be a whole interesting show because, like I said, I've had friends that are from the African nations and everything. Shucks, the person who did Black August in the Park, the main organizer, his family is from Kenya. And he was celebrating the Black American culture and all along those lines. So it could be an interesting discussion because I've heard people even here on this show, because I've even heard people say that there is a disconnect between Africans in America and African Americans. And I've heard people say that for a number of years. And some of that is because of the portrait that they see on TV.
Just because.
Go ahead.
But again, you've played videos where we've discussed this on the show where we've had people from the UK and different parts of Africa where they feel that they're better than Black Americans. I don't identify as African American. I'm a Black American. I did not migrate from the continent of Africa. I'm not African American, and a lot of people don't even understand that the term. And a bunch of scholars from Berkeley University in California because they wanted something to call Black Americans other than Black because they felt like Black was too strong, was too dominant because of the Black Panther Party and things like that. And so they termed us African American, and I don't identify us as African American. That's why now when you have these job applications and these other applications and things like that, they have on there two separate entities. Is either you're African American. We're not one and the same. We didn't migrate from Africa. Our ancestors did, but we did not. We were born in America. I was born in Louisiana. So I am a Louisianian, a Louisiana native and things like that. So no, there is definitely a disconnect. And just celebrating, Juneteenth and, other holidays and other, different Black celebrations does not mean that you are down for the cause. Because we have seen time and time again that these people have spoken and they try to distance themselves from Black Americans. And they try to take up on the stance of white Americans and try to take up on that stance where they are basically oppressing us again. So yes, there is a great disconnect. And I even went to Ghana. I went to Ghana.
I know you went to Ghana and everything, but just really quickly along those same lines, we talked about it before, more with white Americans that have taken our brothers and everything, sisters and all along those lines. But I'm just asking you, I don't know the answer. And I don't know that these people are going to know the answer. What is your thoughts on people that are from other countries that are specifically going after your African Americans? I just said that our mayor is African American. He was born in rural North Carolina, just like I was born in rural North Carolina. But his wife is from, I want to say, is she Kenyan? Yeah, because I think the restaurant is Kenyan. So I think that she's from Kenya or something along those lines. So what is your thoughts about African women and African men, because it's both of those, going after African American women and men? Is that something that you have as much of an issue as you do with white women going after them and everything like that? And like I said, I don't know the answer. I don't know that our listeners know the answer. I was just wondering your thoughts around Africans that are specifically looking after and trying to pick up Black Americans, because you said you don't believe in African American in that term, so I'll go Black Americans. But they're trying to pick up Black Americans for whatever reason, whether it's for a green card or whether it's for real love or whatever. What is your thoughts around that?
They can pick up who they want to pick up. I like Black American men. I'm not really into foreigners and foreign
Fair enough.
countries and things like that because of the cultural disconnect. That's not something that I will want to do. Because it's too much of a culture. To me, it's too much of a cultural disconnect. But people like who they like and things like that. I have heard people saying that they have married people from other countries, and I've heard women say that they have married African men. My cousin was married to African. It didn't last because things like that. He wasn't about the right thing. So I mean, to each his own. Whatever you do to make your boat float, and things like that or whatever. So for me, that's not something that I want. But if that's where they found love, more power to you. But that's not something that I want. But I'm not against them marrying Africans and things like that. But the problem where the problem ensues with us as Black women is Black men who marry white women always bring Black women into their conversation. They always bring Black women into the mix. Oh, I don't date Black women because I only date white women because Black women does this. If you want to date white women, go right ahead and date white women. Leave us out of it. We don't give a right to ask if you date white women or not. But the thing about it is you're always talking about Black women this, Black women that. That's what we have a problem with. We don't care who you lay down with. You can go with that dog, like the man that said that he would rather fuck a dog than deal with a Black woman, and that white woman killed his ass. So y'all can take up on that stance. We don't care one way or the other. The issue that we have again is that they are bringing us into the mix. We don't date Black women because they're loud. We don't date Black women because they're this. We don't date Black women because they're that.
But Dr. Anthony, part of that is the flip side of what goes on.
Because 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, but part of that is the flip side of what goes on. Because I'll just give you these examples.
I missed what you said. You said
I said part of it is the flip side of what goes on. But I'll just give you some examples, and all along those lines. I know for a fact that sometimes, and you kind of alluded to it, some people will say that they date African women because African women are, quote unquote, more submissive. But then I've also heard a lot of people that are upset with the African man, meaning men from Africa, because depending on which country they are, I've heard a lot of people say that guys from Nigeria and some of the other countries are very possessive and very much controlling, and all along those lines. Like, I'm not saying that every Nigerian that I ever met was like that, but I do know that that is a stereotype that exists out there, is that Nigerian men are controlling and possessive. And it seems like that might have been the case even with your cousin and everything. But I don't believe in absolutes. I don't think that there are absolutes on anything, and all along those lines. But I have heard that stereotype, and then I've also heard some people say that they like to get, just like they like to get with white women, they like to get with African women because they think that African women aren't as loud, even though I've seen some loud African women, to be perfectly honest, and everything like that. So there are these stereotypes that exist.
And again, Mark, it is, yeah. And again, Mark, it is what they prefer. All we're saying as a Black woman is leave us out of it. We don't care who you date. We don't care who you screwing, who you have babies by. Just leave us out of it, but the problem ensues when they put us in the conversation. They always circumvent, come back around, and put us in the conversation.
Well, speaking of the conversation, I got one more for you, and I know we're wrapping down.
We don't care who you're dating.
You said about 30 or 40
like
minutes.
I said, 9 times out of 10, Mark.
Yeah. Hey, I got another question for you, though, and everything. Speaking of dating and all of those, one of the things that I've been hearing lately, and I don't know your thoughts about this. This can be a whole nother show and everything. Is that a lot of women, particularly younger women, because I've got friends that are in the 30 and 40, said they are totally pissed and frustrated at the man in their age range, and they have told me flat out, because I've had some approach me and everything, that they want an older man in their life, be that somebody 50 or even freaking 60s like I am and everything, because the men that are in their age range don't know how to treat a woman and also don't are abusive to them and all along those lines. Because I've had a couple of women that are definitely, you definitely don't want to go too young. You don't want to go into the 20s and teens is illegal and everything along those lines. But I have had some women.
It's not illegal. They're grown.
I've had some women in the 30s and 40s that have basically been like, these guys in my age range are, to put it bluntly, stupid. So I'm ready to go get somebody that's going to treat me responsibly, treat me like the queen that I am. So I'm ready to get out of my age range and go for somebody 20, 30, maybe even 40 years older than me and everything like that. 40 is probably the extreme, but I've definitely heard people say 20 or 30. So what is your thoughts around this? Because there are a number of young women that are basically like, I can't put up with these hip hop heads. They don't know what the fuck they want.
I mean, I understand, but at the same time, again, it's about preference and it's about choice.
Right.
Or older, like younger women, but at the same time, when you're dealing with someone who is not in your age range in your age group, there are things that you have to take in consideration, like the compatibility, the conversation, the things that you like doing, the things that they like doing. So I mean, again, whatever makes your boat float. I typically don't date young because I don't have time for it. I like mature men that's in my age group, that's around my age and a little older. I don't like that regard because I don't have time for the foolishness, where you going, where you been, who you talking to, where you at. I don't have time for that. And again, like I said, it's about what your choice in compatibility, what you want, what you're looking for. If they want to go after older men, and if the older men want them, hey, it's more power to you, because I can't control you and you can't control me, and then, a lot of the younger women are saying that we're in competition with them. We're not in competition with them. We could care less. Dating, all we're saying is, just be mindful and, understand what goes along with, dating an older man and in a relationship with the older man. And that's all we're saying, because my thing is, at the end of the day, you grown, he grown, and whatever decision y'all make is on you. Because I don't care. Honestly, I honestly don't care.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense and everything along those lines. I don't know if you want to play just a little bit of this clip where they try to do a better explanation of what colored was and everything, and then I can play some of that, and then you can make some comments on it, and then we can get out of here, and maybe we'll do the
a little bit of that, and then we got show because Dr. Anthony is tired.
Yeah, so then we can do the debate lady later
yes,
on.
Go ahead and play it.
Yep.
Now, if you've been on certain spaces of social media, you've probably heard all about the Tyla discourse. There's been a wave of viral takes claiming she said she's not black, and it's led to a lot of people questioning how Tyla identifies and what it really means. However, that's not the full story, and in fact, it's not even half of it. There's a deep history tied to Tyla's background in South Africa, and without understanding that, the whole conversation online gets taken out of context. Is this a Tyla issue, or is it just an issue of education? I think it's the latter. Let's break it down. Now, Tyla is a 23-year-old singer and songwriter from South Africa who's taken the music world by storm. With her infectious energy, captivating visuals, and a blend of Afrobeat-inspired pop and R&B, she's quickly become one of the biggest stars in the music industry. But with her rise, a different conversation has taken place over her success, her racial identity. People have been questioning how Tyla identifies, with many believing she's trying to distance herself from blackness. Ever since she blew up, her racial identity has been a major talking point. Born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa, Tyla, who has Zulu, Irish, and Mauritian Indian heritage, openly embraced her mixed race background on TikTok before the fame, consistently referring to herself as a colored woman. And by the time 2024 rolled around, Tyla was starting to appear everywhere, and the questions about her racial identity only got louder. After a Breakfast Club interview, she was accused of rejecting blackness. In June 2024, Tyla pulled up to the Breakfast Club, and that interview turned into one of the biggest talking points of her career. Radio host Charlamagne the God asked her about her racial identity.
School me on these debates that they be having about your identity as a South African colored person. What does that even mean?
Now for Tyla, this was not a simple question because her answer is tied to history, culture, and the way race works where she's from in South Africa. So instead of answering right away, she kind of, did the freeze challenge. She froze for a second, even looked at her team, in the back like, what do I say? And that little pause, that's what set everything off. Now, the clip blew up online within hours, and people were saying that she dodged the question and that she was rejecting her blackness. But was that really the case, or is there more to this moment than people realize? Yes, there's more. In the US, the word colored is offensive. It's tied to Jim Crow segregation, when black Americans were forced into separate schools, bathrooms, and even drinking fountains. But in South Africa, where Tyla is from, colored isn't a slur. It's an official racial category created under apartheid, a system that legally divided people by race. From 1948 until the early 1990s, the South African government classified people into 4 groups: white, black, colored, and Indian. And this wasn't just paperwork. It dictated where you could live, who you could marry, what job you could have, even which beaches or bathrooms you could use. And here's the key difference, right? In South Africa, colored doesn't mean mixed race like it does in America. When you hear mixed race in the US, it usually means having parents or grandparents of different races. For example, someone with one black parent and someone with one white parent. In the US, mixed race describes an individual's family background, not an entire community. In South Africa, however, colored is much deeper than ancestry. It's a recognized cultural identity with its own history, traditions, social norms. Essentially, it's a community that's existed for generations. And in the Western Cape, the province where Cape Town is, they're actually the largest group, making up about 42% of the population. So that's not a small group, that's nearly half of the province. So when Tyla says she's colored, she isn't avoiding blackness, she's speaking about the identity her country recognizes. So the colored community in South Africa have over generations built a unique heritage shaped by African, European, and Asian roots. But under apartheid, they were still placed in a strict racial hierarchy, ranked between white and black, and denied many basic rights. While the black majority faced the harshest oppression, colored people also lived under laws that controlled their movements, limited their opportunities, and kept them segregated. One of the harshest tools was the pass laws, which forced non-white South Africans, especially black people, to carry ID at all times. Without a pass, you could be arrested or forced out of your own city. Entire communities were uprooted into overcrowded townships, tearing families apart. So essentially, it was a system designed to keep
just part of that video and everything like that, but definitely that can wrap off the show on that one and everything. But that was just that gentleman's YouTube talking about the difference in his mindset between colored in South Africa and colored here in the Americas and everything like that. But I don't know if you got any answer to him and everything like that, because he was using the Charlemagne interview as part of his context, and there was more that he said about the history and everything along those lines. But that gives you the gist of what the conversation was.
What's up, what's up, what's up? Welcome to the All Around. I'm your gracious host, Dr. Anthony. Please tune in on Mondays at 6 p.m. for your entertainment purposes. We will hit current topics, old topics, and everything else in between. Be there or be square. Deuces, my loves.